Episode 6. Acquiring Skills. 30 days have passed since I devoured Veldora. What have I been doing, you ask? You fool! Think about it. I'm a slime. How am I supposed to fight if a monster attacks me? It's even hard to escape. So I've been thinking of ways to fight. I also ate some of the prominent grasses and strangely glowing minerals in this area. This place, as Veldora called it, has a high concentration of magicules. Almost all the grass I found there was hypocrite grass, just as I suspected. This would increase my stock of healing potions. The strangely glowing minerals turned out to be magic ore. It's apparently a material for metals that are harder than steel and more flexible. It can be used to create metals with high affinity for magic. I was hoping for something even rarer, but then I realized I didn't even know if famous ores like orichalcum or hihikane existed. Maybe this is a rare ore after all. Perhaps I'm just getting a bit greedy. While happily devouring the grass and ore, they don't have a taste by the way, I had a thought. Since I can shoot out water, maybe I can make a water cutter or something similar. I know, you're probably thinking I'll fail again, but don't make fun of me too much. I'm a man who gets things done when he puts his mind to it. My report card always said, he's a child who can succeed if he tries. So, if I try, I can do it. With that, I immediately went to the underground lake. Just as I imagined in the dark, a vast underground lake stretched out before me. It was more mystical and quiet than I had expected. There was no sign of life. It was impossibly silent. The magicules had likely seeped into the water, preventing any creatures from living here. It was untouched nature, a beautiful sight. Anyway, back to the matter at hand. The problem last time was that I blasted water out at full power without any test shots. The nozzle was too wide, so the propulsive force was too strong. This time, I'll imagine it like a water gun, just a tiny stream. I'll take water into my mouth and imagine shooting it out in a thin stream. The water didn't come out. Was the nozzle too small? I tried to widen it a little, and the water shot out forcefully, drenching the rock I was aiming at. Good. Next, I'll increase the pressure a bit and open the nozzle. I practiced with my water gun, slowly increasing the power as I aimed at the rock. I finally managed to get the hang of it. Still, it would probably sting if it hit a person, but it didn't seem like a decisive attack. What should I do? Pondering this, I went into the underground lake. Nothing beats a bath when you're tired. It's not just playing around. Using magic sense, I observed my body floating and sinking in the water. I looked a bit like a jellyfish. Could I vibrate my body's surface to create a current? I sent magic through my squishy body, manipulating magicules to create a vibration. Poyon, poyon, poyoyon. A small vibration was generated. I started moving through the water. Success! I had fun swimming around and enjoying myself. It was a nice change of pace. Skill water stream movement has been acquired. I thought it was great sage for a moment, but it seems it was the voice of the world. I acquired a skill just from playing around. I can now move through and on water at a decent speed in any direction I want. When necessary, I can use hydraulic propulsion to accelerate. Considering I don't need to breathe, it might be easier to fight in the water. It's also good for escaping. Thinking this, I got out of the underground lake. Break time was over. Now for the problem of an attack method. The change of pace gave me a new idea. My water gun method required continuous pressure on the water. This time, I would try to imagine applying pressure inside a cylinder and shooting out a small amount of water. I would adjust the power by changing the bore and pressure just like before. Bish! A small, sharp stream of water shot out and hit the target rock. The part it hit cracked a little. I might have succeeded. Before I forgot this feeling, I practiced more. I adjusted the bore and the pressure. I practiced adding a spin to the water as I shot it out. I even tried changing the shape of the nozzle to be thinner, not just smaller. Yes, the image in my mind was cutting with water. Bishoon! The blade of water I shot out cut through the rock. The power surprised even me, the one who did it. The results of my week-long training had finally come to fruition. Skill water blade has been acquired. The acquisition of skills hydraulic propulsion, water stream movement, and water blade has led to the evolution into the extra skill water manipulation.
Whoa, it really did come to fruition. An extra skill is apparently leagues ahead of a normal skill in both power and performance. With this, I now have a way to fight, and so I prepared for my journey. Finally, it had been 120 days since I was reincarnated by the side of this underground lake. The day had finally come to leave this home. I was worried. I can't speak. Since I don't have vocal cords, I practiced trying to make my body into a shape that could substitute them. However, I hadn't succeeded yet. I considered staying here to practice until I succeeded, but I couldn't even picture what success would look like. The only way to communicate was through thought communication. It's a bit inconvenient since I have to rely on the other person, but there's no other choice until I figure out how to speak. There's no point in staying here and playing around forever. I want to see the outside world and, if possible, meet another otherworlder from my home world. Learning magic also seems fun. Thinking about all this, it was definitely time to set out. As the saying goes, the best day to start is the day you decide to. Veldora was silent. It seemed like he had disappeared, but I knew that wasn't the case. We had a promise. I would make sure to have some funny stories ready to tell him when we met again. I started walking down the only path that led from this familiar, vast underground space to the surface. I was filled with thoughts of the world I had yet to see and anticipation for what was to come. Status: Name: Rimuru Tempest. Species: Slime. Divine Protection: Stormcrest. Title: None. Magic: None. Skills: Unique Skill: Great Sage. Unique Skill: Predator. Slime's unique skills: Dissolve, Absorb, Self-Regeneration. Extra skill: Water Manipulation. Extra skill: Magic Sense. Resistances: Heat Change Resistance EX, Physical Attack Resistance, Pain Nullification, Electrical Resistance, Paralysis Resistance. In the deep, deep darkness. In the depths of utter despair where no one would ever visit, Veldora was lost in his thoughts. Catastrophe-class monster, Storm Dragon Veldora, was a special S-rank monster. Monster ranks, like those of adventurers, were rated on a 6-level scale from A to F. There were also sometimes plus or minus ratings for slightly stronger or slightly weaker, or to denote a quasi-rank. This system was newly established by a man rumored to be an otherworlder, the head of the Freedom Association and holder of the Grand Master title, Yuki Kagarazaka. It was more understandable and well-received than the previous 4-level system of novice, beginner, intermediate, expert. For reference, expert was rank C or higher, intermediate was rank D, beginner was rank E, and novice was rank F. By hunting monsters of the appropriate rank, the number of deaths had drastically decreased. It served as a good guideline, meaning that if you were the same rank, you were considered a match in a one-on-one fight. This made fighting in a party much safer. A special S rank was in existence beyond even the S rank, a class designated for demon lords that surpassed the A rank. A rank monsters were already a terrible threat, sometimes even putting a nation's existence in danger. This should give you an idea of the sheer despair Veldora represented. However, Veldora himself was completely unaware of any of this. He thought today, as always, that he was bored. It had been 300 years since he was defeated by the hero. He replayed that battle in his mind again and again. He felt regret, but for some reason, he felt no hatred. He had fought and lived as he pleased. Few could stand in his way. This wasn't his first defeat. However, it was his first time being defeated in a completely fair one-on-one battle. She had pale skin, a small crimson mouth, long jet black hair. She wasn't very tall, with a slender, slightly petite figure. Her eyes were hidden by a mask, but judging from her silhouette, she was a woman. A beautiful girl at that. Since her eyes were hidden, she couldn't see her emotions. Perhaps that's why he was disappointed, that she simply pointed her sword at him without any sign of fear or hatred. What if I could get out of this prison? He sometimes wondered. Would he take revenge on that girl? He didn't even hate her.
If he had the chance to fight again, he wanted to fight her once more. That was Veldora's honest, true feeling. But he wanted to fight her not like a machine, but with all his might, with his very existence on the line. He wanted to be acknowledged by that girl, the hero, and make her fight him seriously. This had become Veldora's wish. Human lifespans are short. Veldora was well aware that his wish would likely never come true. Still, Veldora's thoughts continued to loop. How many years had passed? Then, one day, rumble, thud, a light blue object crashed into him. The area around him was so saturated with his own dense magicules that no ordinary creature could live there. Furthermore, it was difficult even for a high-level monster to touch him, the very embodiment of those magicules. Veldora was intrigued and observed the object. It was a fateful meeting. For Veldora, who had almost given up on his own existence, this mysterious creature felt like hope. He had a premonition that this meeting was bound to bring about something. Believing in a premonition that had never been wrong, "Can you hear me, little one?" Veldora called out with a certain confidence.